Hey, what is going on, guys? So my last video, in case you missed it, was a video discussing a major mistake that Epic has made in regards to the potential competitive Fortnite scene on console. That video received some really overwhelming support from you guys, so I hope that this video today, which is going to be on a fairly similar topic, will also be a really interesting watch. For those of you guys that don't know, a brand new patch v5.1, was released into Fortnite yesterday, July 24th. I would be absolutely lying to you guys if I said that the gameplay changes contained in this patch are anything other than a total disaster for the future of Fortnite. And if you guys follow a decent amount of top level Fortnite players on Twitter, YouTube, or Twitch, you would know that I am definitely not alone with that opinion. This patch, along with many other questionable gameplay changes over the past few weeks, has me incredibly concerned about the direction that Epic is going with Fortnite. And when I say that, I am specifically referring to one major aspect of Fortnite: building. Building is, in my opinion, the #1 gameplay feature that has made Fortnite so unbelievably successful over this past year. But before we get too far into that discussion, let me first show you guys the important gameplay changes contained in patch 5.1 that have me so concerned as a dedicated Fortnite player. Alright guys, so in my opinion there are two major gameplay changes included in this patch that rise above all the others in terms of changing the meta in Fortnite, and most likely in a very negative way. First off was the inclusion of the compact SMG into Fortnite. Now I'll show you guys like the weapon stats and all the information about it contained in the patch, but if you guys have played Fortnite at all, or as I mentioned follow like really high level Fortnite players on Twitter, YouTube, or Twitch, you probably know by now exactly what I'm going to say about this weapon. It is ridiculously overpowered. Luckily, it's only available in epic and legendary variants, so the rarity of this compact SMG, I guess, keep it from being a totally game-breaking weapon. But trust me, all it's going to take is for you to get that weapon in your hands like one time, or die to it once or twice in a close-range fight, for you to know that this is a horrible inclusion into Fortnite. I mean, the 23 to 24 base damage with the 50 round capacity and the ridiculously fast fire rate. I mean, I've seen so many clips on Twitter of people with 200 health literally dying in less than a second. And when you consider the fact that with that 50 round clip, you don't even have to be incredibly accurate with the weapon, and you can basically just spray and pray it like a lot of the other SMGs in this game, it is definitely a major step backwards for the close range meta in Fortnite. But at the end of the day, I don't even think this weapon is the worst change contained in this patch. The change that I'm really going to break down in this video today is the change concerning the health of certain material-based walls in Fortnite. And I'll put the stats for all of that stuff on the screen right now. So as you guys can see, the changes to building materials goes as follows. Wood wall starting health goes from 100 to 80, stone wall starting health goes from 90 to 80, wood wall max health goes from 200 to 150, metal wall max health goes from 400 to 500, and finally the total metal build time goes from 20 seconds to 25 seconds. Now if you can't really understand what this means for the overall gameplay and meta of Fortnite, it's as simple as this. Epic really went ahead and nerfed building even harder in addition to everything else they've done to it in the past few weeks. For those of you that don't know, the #1 overwhelming complaint so far in Season 5 of Fortnite is the fact that building is currently the weakest it's ever been at any point in the history of Fortnite. The specific term that a lot of people are deeming the Season 5 meta is spray and pray, because with the addition of 3 new SMGs in just the last few weeks, spraying at built structures is what most people do now whenever they get outbuilt. Many people believe that this spray and pray meta is literally the worst meta we have ever seen in Fortnite. So what does Epic go ahead and do after receiving all this criticism? They decide to go out of their way to make building even worse, despite the constant complaints from the community that it is already far too weak. And just to make it worse, the only building aspect that they buffed was the max health of metal walls. What exactly does that mean? It rewards only the players who camp in 3 high 1x1s. Now they can do that with super strong metal walls, which promotes even slower, campier gameplay. These changes only further decrease the already shrinking skill gap in Fortnite, and my theory is that this recent string of awful gameplay changes stems directly from changes inside of Epic. My theory is that in the last few weeks, either someone inside of Epic got fired, someone inside of Epic got hired, or the decision-making process when it comes to actual gameplay changes in Fortnite shifted from like the mid-level game designers who actually know what's going on to the upper corporate suits who only care about short-term profits for the company. And my reasoning behind this theory is actually fairly simple. Something is not adding up in regards to these recent changes that are just continually nerfing building. Fortnite was initially designed with building being its most unique, prominent feature that was designed to put it ahead of every other Battle Royale game out there. And like I said, this was 100% intentional by the developers. I remember seeing an early slogan for Fortnite out there when the game was just starting out. It was something along the lines of like, the battle is the building, or the building is the battle. Basically enforcing the idea that what makes Fortnite so unique by these developers is the building aspect of the game that no other Battle Royale game has. So they make this game where building so important, they think it's going to put it ahead of every other BR game out there, and oh my goodness, this goes bigger than their wildest dreams. I mean, seriously, in terms of like growth in a 1-year period, Fortnite is legitimately probably the biggest video game in human history when it comes to growth in 1 year. And this is mainly due to building. They know it, the fans know it, everyone knows it. So why is it now, 1 year later, after the success of Fortnite that building directly attributed to, are they deciding to nerf it so heavily and making the game pretty much unrecognizable from the Fortnite that grew so large over the past few months? These gameplay changes I'm seeing from Epic are alarmingly similar to the things I saw from Call of Duty, which eventually led to the demise of the series. I'm sure all of you guys know what Call of Duty is, and yeah, it's still definitely a really big video game, but 7-8 years ago, back in the MW2 Black Ops 1 days, Call of Duty was basically Fortnite before Fortnite. Everybody knew what Call of Duty was. Middle-aged moms, young kids, grandparents. I mean, very similar to what you're seeing with Fortnite now. What happened with Call of Duty? They released 2 or 3 incredible games in a row that everybody loved. But eventually, there were changes inside of the companies that made Call of Duty, which adhered to lower skill gaps, catering towards the bad players, and eventually super questionable decisions like exo movement in Advanced Warfare and Call of Duty Black Ops 3. Exo movement was a change from the second it was announced that everybody hated. Everyone begged them, don't do this, keep it boots on the ground, keep it normal movement, keep it like a normal war game with actual humans. What did Call of Duty do? They ignored the community feedback, went their own way, made 2 exo movements games in a row, and that pretty much dug the grave for Call of Duty as the #1 shooter video game franchise. And what you're seeing now is after, 3 or 4 absolute misses in a row by that franchise, they're trying to pick up the pieces with games like World War II and Black Ops 4, trying to go back to what people actually want. But like I said, they really dug their grave with those decisions they made earlier and disregarding the community, and Epic is definitely not at that point yet, but like I said, some of the things they're doing are alarmingly similar. And the most alarming part is, who's to say it ends here with this nerf on building? I think a lot of people are saying like, man, they have nerfed building so far, but at least this is going to be the last thing they do. I mean, look at Double Pump, for example. When Double Pump came back in like the beginning to middle of May, it was overpowered. I'll even admit that, even though I'm a huge Double Pump fan. So what they do? They did the first nerf to Double Pump that brought it from overpowered to fairly balanced, maybe a tad bit overpowered. Then they did a second nerf to the damage of Double Pump, which brought it from balanced, maybe slightly overpowered, to balanced to maybe even slightly underpowered. Then they did a third nerf, and at that point only the absolute best Double Pump users in the world were using Double Pump, because after that third nerf it was definitely not even the slightest bit overpowered. It was probably underpowered at that point. So everyone thought, alright, now now double pump is honestly weak, they should maybe even revert it back to its old state. What did Epic do? Totally disregarded that and just in general removed 2 shotgun options from the game altogether with the start of Season 5. And who's to say that building won't eventually end up suffering the same fate as double pump? We may think this latest change is way too far, but after some of these recent questionable decisions, who the heck knows what Epic is thinking? And to add on to this, there is some leaked information that suggests that this may not be the end of Epic's vendetta against building. After one of the recent patches, someone discovered the description of 2 brand new LTM game modes in the hidden files that are likely going to be added into Fortnite sometime in the near future. Here are the details of those LTMs. The first one is a game mode named Tactics Showdown, and the description goes, this mode encourages tactical combat and building by putting a cap on the amount of resources and ammunition players can carry. Player built structures will also start off with less health than normal, and when players are eliminated, they will drop fewer resources than normal. The second one is named Ground Game. In Ground Game, the focus is on fighting smart. Spray and pray and build spamming isn't an option here. Fewer building materials can be carried and max ammo count is limited, so use the natural cover that the map provides and make every shot count. Now, this matters a lot because Epic has specifically said in the past that they use LTMs directly as a testing ground for changes that they may end up making in the actual main Fortnite Battle Royale game. So both of these LTMs both mention in some capacity limiting the amount of materials that a player can carry, making structures even weaker than they are normally. This is definitely a horrible sign for the future of building in Fortnite, and the more and more I read about all these new things, the more and more concerned I get about the future of Fortnite. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you stayed until the end, be sure to leave me a comment down in the comment section below. What are your thoughts on these new gameplay changes in Fortnite, and more importantly, are you concerned about the future of Fortnite, or do you think these recent slip-ups by Epic are just a few lapses in judgment that they'll eventually be able to correct and make Fortnite great again? Leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe, do whatever the heck you want, and I will catch you guys next time.